Hey yo guys, how's it going? Tally here, and today I am going to bring you 100 duels of Armed Dragon, Guardragon. Let's go! As always, make sure to like it, make sure to subscribe if you're new here, and make sure to comment your thoughts down below. Let's dive in. Game number 1, I'm up against the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and spoilers, Mighty Morphin lost. I'm not really sure on what I wanted to do with the deck at this point, but I'm sure it's going to shape up eventually. However, for now, I'm going to take some fat L's, like this one. Game number 2 was against Rika, and to be honest, it just went on a little bit long for my liking. I thought I could go to the side deck, do better in game number 3. I did not do better in game number 3. Change of pace in game number 4, I'm up against Dark Warrior. I drop a swift big Nibiru and they decide to surrender, and that's all fine with me. In game number 5, they make the mistake of letting me go first. A Guardragon deck. I comboed for half an hour and they scooped. Game number 6 is up against Nurse Burn, and Nurse Burn is very free. And you know how I feel about free wins, gang. You know how I feel about free wins! I've got no idea what happened in game number 7. It was against Sacred Beast Eldritch. I should have won, but I didn't. And in game number 8, they thought that they could stop me. Sacred Beast Eldritch, you have nothing that I cannot out. Nothing that I cannot out. I have literally 0 outs to there can be only one. I cannot out, there can be only one. Game number 10, I'm up against a deck that likes to banish, and I just goes, do you know what, ash that allure, I can feel it down deep inside me, and it somehow worked. And in game number 11, this is just proper levels of done in right here. Like, god damn. And in game number 12, I'm up against Shadol. I feel like I played this one pretty well. The Armed Dragons didn't do much, but they tried their best, and that's all that matters. I still feel like the deck isn't really complete though. Let's work on that. And since the deck isn't really complete, game 13 didn't go super well. They hit me with a Super Poly, which gave them time to break my board, break my heart, and I just drew that Nibiru too late. In game 14, my hand was just cursed. Just incredibly cursed. In game number 15, I'm gonna be honest, I gave up, decided this deck needs a powerhouse, so I added Red Eye's Dark Dragoon. And we won this one. And here we are, yet another cursed hand. This deck runs way too many high level monsters that don't do enough on their own. We'll start to solve this eventually, but right now I was determined to make the Armed Dragons the absolute be-all end-all win-con of the deck, and that hasn't went well so far, but we'll see how it goes. And in game 17 I dropped the fattest of rocks on my opponent, comboed off a little bit myself and accepted a very well earned scoop. Just the threat alone of Dragoon won me game number 18. How cool's that? And I lost game number 19 because I'm just an idiot. Big stupid idiot. Went for Verte way too early and paid the price. And I'm going to be honest, in game number 20 I've got no clue how it ended up the way it did. I should have had all the pieces, and I still ended up with nothing except a fat L. Game 21 is up against Dark Lord, and it was the definition of a free win. I do love free wins, and with this current win-loss, I really need a win. And in game 22, Red Eye's Dark Dragoon is one hell of a card, and I have one hell of a bad hand. One more extender would have been full OTK, but nah, I draw 2 Garnets in a 50 card deck. Game 23 had a much better hand, lots of extenders allowing me to go into the rare but appreciated Appaloosa end board, which is basically the regular end board but with Appaloosa instead of Seal. But anyway, their hand was like ours from the game before, and negating the fusion won me the game. And game 24 was essentially an unstoppable rampage of extenders through their Dragoon that could have OTK'd many times over, but I needed to make sure that this red-eyed menace was most definitely dead, so I set up the pop and the negate for good measure. Game 25, I'm up against Little Lusk Tri-Brigade piloted by a good friend of the channel, Gil. Now he combos off and ends on a genuinely upsetting Floodgate, but fun fact, the armed dragons are wind, which he has the negate for. Thankfully I have Nibiru, and after a bit of back and forth, I take the W. In game 26, he just beat me senseless with my own Nibiru token, and I could not have felt more betrayed if I tried. In game number 27, the classic happened. I was an idiot. Playing Lance in the Imperm column, not abusing Boot Sector when I had the chance. It was just a mess here. Game number 28 is basically Spellcaster the deck. It's Dark Magician, Girl, Wind Witch. After my embarrassing loss to Gil, I make more embarrassing plays here, so I decide to channel my frustration into Dragoon. And yes, I felt good about it. Game 29 went about as well as you'd expect. I set up shop, went to town, and they couldn't do much about it outside of a poorly timed Super Poly. This ended exactly as you think it would. Game 30 was rather uneventful, but I did learn that Farfa's cat Tan is named after a monster in this deck. Every day's a school day. You know, after game 30 I decided, why don't I try Dangers? The reason you don't try Dangers is because the armed dragons don't discard. I'm an idiot, and the next couple games are just painful. And to top it off, I lost game 31. I didn't deserve a win in game 32, I ruined this deck, and I'm not happy about it. I won game 33, but that doesn't overcome the shame and anger. Game 34, I'm back to the Dragon Linkish build, and I'm up against Trap Tricks. They were persistent in attempting to get a Serra on board, but I was more persistent at keeping that bugger off. In game 35, my opponent thought I was better than I was, so they didn't set their whole hand expecting a grind game. Joke's on them. I suck, so I just made Dragoon and popped their stuff. In game number 36, we are up against Invoked Cyber Dragon, and remember kids, Invoked players always draw Alistair in Invocation, so just don't do anything. Just ruin their day after it. What can they do? One negate? Lol. And game 37 is up against a Dragon player's worst nightmare, Buster Blader. But after going first and setting up the usual interruptions, they had nothing to stop me picking apart the board. And game number 38 is exactly why Buster Blader is this deck's worst enemy. And the game plan for game 39 was to sit on Dragoon, drop a fat Lancia, and just watch them struggle to do really anything. Game number 40 was up against Mutant, and it was simple. I did my thing, they did no thing, and I won. And in game 41, I didn't even really do much to make them want to scoop, they just did it. Game number 42, we were up against Dark Magician. I passed on a Nibiru in hand, an Imperm on field, and a prayer in my heart that I wouldn't lose. I didn't lose, and then they lost. Game number 43 is up against Invoke Shadol. They combos a lot after I set up the usual, and all it took was Spheres with an Abomination pop to make them quit. In game number 44, look at my Magical Musket's magical hand. Back against Trap Tricks in game number 45, and this one was super easy. If you don't let them normal summon, they can't win. I'm gonna humble brag a little bit. I think I played game 46 kinda well. I dangled a Dragoon in front of them so that my other plays could go largely uninterrupted, and after clearing their board, I just took the win. And in game number 47, I barely start my combo and my opponent quits. In game 48, my opponent drops there can be only one, the sign of a very skilled opponent. In game 49 I tried to show my opponent the same skill they showed me, so I just sat on Dragoon. Yeah, take that. It's a spellcaster. And I won game number 50, but the clip is going to show it as a loss. What happened was Edo Pro kind of paused the game, let the timer run out, nothing would happen, but look at that field, you know for a fact that I won this game. Game number 51, I'm up against Pacifist. They tried to flip a floodgate, realised that they can't win, and they quit. In game 52, I'm up against literally just a random deck with lots of different back row and no win condition, so I sat on Dragoon. Game number 53, they dropped, unironically, Negate Attack, and on my next turn I just went ahead and negated their whole life. Game number 4, I'm up against Ancient Warrior Dogmatica, and I was doing so well until they dropped the turtle on me and brought out Winda. Can't play through that with this deck. However, game 55 went much better, managed to get some plays going, ended off on the Dragoon, and it got me the win this time. And game number 56 just didn't really end well for me. I lost after not getting a good turn and hoping they couldn't OTK me. By the way, did you know that Ancient Warriors can actually like OTK? And in game 57 we're up against the Resident Ra deck of the 100 duels. This never goes well for them. And in game 58 they swapped from Ra to Obelisk. It still didn't go well for them. And in game 59 we're up against literally Revolver from the anime. He's literally playing the Revolver anime themed deck, and it's beautiful. In game number 60 we were up against the Demise deck. They couldn't OTK me, so they scooped, and you know I love a good free win. Game 61 we're up against Eldritch Mayakashi, and I'll be real, I didn't deserve this win. Like, they still had cards they could have used, and I don't know why they didn't use them. But I just said it, I take free wins. Game number 62 was not a free win though. I ended on literally nothing versus a set 4 pass. It was a bad time, but I was so confident that I could play through it until they dropped the Super Poly. But much like divine compensation from the good lord himself, I opened the gas, they opened nothing, and they scooped like daddy wants them to. That's a good end to game 63. Game 64, I'm up against another Demise deck, and if I had a nickel for every time I played Demise this video, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Also, I won. Game number 65 was too fast to mean we're done. Game number 66 was against Amazement Amusement, and that was also too fast to mean moving on. Back to normality in game 67, we're up against Trap Tricks yet again, and when in doubt, Dragoon. Game number 68 was against Time Lords, and since I didn't build my deck with those in mind, this win was actually just kinda lucky. I don't really have a lot of outs for Time Lords. Game number 69 I lost because I just don't have the outs for Time Lords. Game number 70 was really just luck. I wasted a lot of opportunities and I should have taken them sooner, but it's okay, in the end I still won. Thank God. Game number 71 was up against Evil Destiny Hero, and of course they couldn't stop me. They summoned Bane, I bounced it, I won. Don't bring heroes to the hero god, baby. Game number 72, I'm up against the best deck Pendulum, and they lost. That wasn't very Triff gaming of them, they didn't even set up 8,000 negates. I regret taunting them in game 72 because in game 73 they combo way harder and I just didn't think I could play through it. I lost this one, that was very Triff gaming of them. Through 18 interruptions, 8 million negates. Penned best deck, baby. Game 74 is up against Mystic Mine, and I scooped immediately as soon as I seen it because I refused to play against Mystic Mine. Game number 75 was up against Geist. They ended on Secret Village. I have a lot of spell cards. Let's just say that this one didn't go well, and we'll move on. Game 76 was better though. They had absolutely nothing to stop me setting up the God board. Game number 77 up against Numeron Eldritch. They played Protect the Castle well enough, and I just crashed out and lost. I'm not a fan of these kind of decks, I'll be honest. And I'll be honest, I could have played game number 78 better, but I used all my resources up early. Turns out the cherries they had actually did hurt in the end. So in this one I took a Swift L2. You know, it's a beautiful thing to end on 3 monsters versus a Ra deck, but it's okay, one of those monsters was Spheres. That got me some recovery plays, and we ended on Dragoon because he's a good boy, he's the true god card here. And game number 80, we're up against Tindangle. Dragoon went brrr. That's pretty much it. That's it. And in game 81, they had the classic case of combo fear. I started to play the game, and they quit. Game number 82, I'm up against Drytron, and I'll be honest, I got lucky here. Played it poorly, but that lucky Imperm was a lifesaver, and I won. Game number 83 is a better example of how I know that I didn't play this one particularly well, and I almost got game ended by my boy Rainbow Neos. That one hurt the most. And I'll be honest, in game 84 I'd actually really forgot that I was playing Armed Dragons. I'm just accepting Dragoon as my new Lord and Saviour. In game 85, my friendship with Dragoon has ended. Nibiru is my new god. And in game 86, now Theti Ash is my new goddess. In game 87, I'm up against Mech Knight. I had all the good stuff, they had all the better stuff. I play like an idiot every time I pick up the game, and they won. I'm gonna teach you a thing in game 88 that it took me nearly 100 games to learn. Did you know that Divine Lance has another effect? I didn't, and it won me the game. It was beautiful. But then in game 89, that World Legacy secret, let me tell you my own secret. I don't like that card. It makes me sad. It makes me angry, and then I lost. Invoked Eldritch is our enemy in game 90, and I botched the combo. I ended on a slightly weaker board than normal, but turns out it was exactly the literal minimum of what I needed to win. In game 91, I tried coming back after being picked apart. I just thought it'd be better to try harder in the tiebreaker, because I was gonna lose this one. And in game 9, okay, we're done here I suppose. Alrighty then, moving on. Game number 93, I'm up against Sky Striker, and I'm gonna be honest, I played this one honestly terribly, as if I'd never ever picked up this deck and wasn't nearly 100 duels in. It was just awful. But in game 94, after playing that last one so poorly, I decided to unleash all my rage from the fiery pits of hell, and the hell delivered. It was a good game. Back to being an idiot in game 95 though. There was no reason to make the plays that I made, and it just ended up on me losing. And I honestly don't know what I did wrong. I actually do know what I did wrong, but I'm not going to learn a single thing from it. In game number 96, the simple threat of Silver Rocket alone made my 10-ye enemy scoop. 10-ye enemy? 10-ye enemy. Anyway, they scooped. And in game 97 it happened again. Okay, bye then. Game number 98, we are up against Drytron. I do like to end this with a bit of a more meta matchup, but I'm going to be honest, I have no idea why I did what I did, but then it was done and so was I. I lost. Look at their hand in game number 99, look at all those negates, and I still OTK'd like an absolute champion. And in game 100 their game plan was to sit on a special summon floodgate that would cripple this deck, hand traps that could cripple this deck, and then they scooped to an imperm. Okay then, alrighty, epitome of a free one, let's go boys! So now it's time to round everything off. I'm going to be kinda honest, I feel like Armed Dragons are a really cool engine in a wider Guardragon deck. However, they are bricky, they don't really generate advantage, they're all just 1-for-1s, and I wish they were just a little bit faster. Now since recording this, I have actually seen a couple other profiles that make it look a bit more of a competent going second deck, so I think that's also worth testing out a little bit later down the line, but you've got to drop it in the comments if you want to see the going second Armed Dragon pure deck list, as opposed to a bit more of a Dragon Linky sort of vibe. As always guys, if you like it, give it a like. If you love it, give it a share and tell everyone you know about Team Tally today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you show it some love. I do love me a good 100 duels, and it's been about a month since the last one. As always, you have been amazing. I have been Tally. I'll catch you all later. Bye.